Good morning, committee. We're going to go ahead and get started this morning. We do have a full schedule, as usual. Two of our committee members are still downstairs in another hearing. I'm sure they'll be up as soon as possible. So, committee, our first item on the agenda is the nomination of Kristen Wheeler. Kristen, welcome to the committee. And I do know that you brought some distinguished guests with you this morning. Would you like to introduce them?
I would. Can you all hear me? Okay. Well, let me begin this morning by acknowledging my family who are with me. My husband, Phil, is a senior zookeeper at the Sedgwick County Zoo in charge of Australian and South American birds. My stepson, Grayson, is a 7th grader making his first visit to the Capitol today. And my daughter, Chloe, is 8 months old. And I would just like to thank them because I would not be standing in front of you today without their support and encouragement. I would also like to introduce to you all Senior United States District Court Judge J. Thomas Martin. I have had the honor to serve as Judge Martin's law clerk, courtroom deputy, and judicial assistant for the past 2.5 years. He has become a trusted mentor and friend during that time, and he has been instrumental in helping me to develop the skills that I believe are critical to fill this position. As you mentioned, Madam Chairwoman, my name is Kristen Wheeler. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today in support of my appointment to the attorney position on the Board of Tax Appeals. I would like to thank Governor Kelly for her confidence in nominating me to serve in this capacity, and I would like to thank the members of this committee and your colleagues for the work that you do and for taking the time to meet with me. I am a lifelong Kansan who was born and raised in Emporia. I earned my undergraduate degree at the University of Kansas and my law degree from Washburn University School of Law. After I graduated from law school, I moved to Wichita, where I worked in private practice for 2 different firms for 12 years. In my private practice career, I was fortunate to work in a number of different areas of law, as well as to gain significant courtroom experience. I represented both residential and commercial clients in the acquisition and sale of real estate, as well as the litigation of real property disputes. I represented business clients in commercial litigation, intellectual property protection, regulatory compliance, and licensing. I represented individuals in consumer protection and financial matters. I prosecuted hundreds of cases in municipal court as a part-time prosecutor for the city of Goddard, and I participated in jury trials in both state and federal court. I also had a substantial appellate practice, authoring or co-authoring briefs submitted to state and federal appellate courts in several jurisdictions. As I mentioned, I've been in Judge Martin's chambers for the past 2.5 years. In my work for Judge Martin, I routinely draft judicial opinions, orders, and other legal documents for his review and signature. Although I am often required to learn an area of law with which I am not familiar in a very short period of time, I apply the same process to every legal document that I draft. I review the arguments and evidence provided by the parties, I locate the applicable law and proper legal precedents, and I apply that law to the facts and evidence given in order to draft memoranda and opinions that reach the correct legal result. If I am confirmed as the attorney member of the Board of Tax Appeals, I would bring diverse experience in the law, familiarity and comfort with the judicial hearing process, and expertise in drafting clear, concise legal opinions to the role. I believe it would be my responsibility to ensure the board follows Kansas law as it is written in the Kansas statutes and interpreted in binding Court of Appeals and Supreme Court precedent when it issues its decisions. It would also be my responsibility to ensure the board follows appropriate procedures during the hearing process and that a clear legal record is created. Finally, it would be my responsibility to assist the non-attorney members of the board to understand their obligations under the Kansas Code of Judicial Ethics that is applicable to all board members. My experience representing commercial, individual, and government clients will allow me to make a seamless transition to the board. My demonstrated commitment to excellence in continuing professional education, along with the breadth of my legal experience, shows that I have the ability to gain the knowledge in taxation and valuation necessary to serve in this role. Finally, my courtroom experience, both in front of and behind the bench, along with video conference hearings, will allow me to bring a fresh and innovative perspective to the board's hearing processes and to explore efficiencies that will benefit the taxpayers and assessing entities that utilize the board's services. I am eager to join the Board of Tax Appeals and tackle the challenges that are presented to it, and I believe that I can make an immediate positive impact if I am confirmed. Thank you all for your time and commitment to this process. I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kristen. Committee, any questions? None at all? Committee, I'll ask a couple then. Okay. Kristen, thank you for your application, your resume. I would also, Mrs. Rogers, we've never met, but welcome to the Tax Committee. And thank you for your service along with your husband's. For those of you that you don't know, that her husband was the former Senate president, which is a very active group. we appreciate very much. Thank you. Well, Kristen, I had a couple of questions. One is, you were a nominee for the state Supreme Court justice at one point?
That's correct, fairly recently.
Yes. Could I ask you why you are interested in this position after such a prestigious nominee, that this would be a little bit, it would be, I'm a software engineer and project manager. I've worked on some extensive projects, and I just, it'd be like me going back and starting over coding almost.
Well, I like a challenge, and I love an opportunity to learn new things. But primarily for me, this is an opportunity to be of service to the state, and that is how I really saw the position with the Supreme Court as well. It was an opportunity to be of service to the state in a way that I felt I could be particularly useful. And I think that the same set of skills that I would have applied in the position of Supreme Court Justice, I can apply very well to the Board of Tax Appeals. It's just a little bit different area of thought, but still very much the same process and still very important to the people of the state. So I don't see it as really that much of a pivot at all. It's just an opportunity to serve in somewhere where I think my skills are very uniquely suited.
I see it as a large pivot, but that's interesting. You don't. Thank you. I would also ask, on your application, you have, and party affiliation does not matter with this committee. I will start out, we had a Democrat nominee. The Senate passed, I think, unanimously, and we had a Republican nominee that failed to pass this body. On your application, you said that you're unaffiliated?
I am unaffiliated.
Since when?
I have been unaffiliated at various points throughout my voter registration history. I think I recently changed back to unaffiliated, just simply because I think that is more correct of my voting history. I tend to vote the candidate that I believe is the best for the position rather than necessarily the candidate that represents a particular party.
So you don't know when you changed from your last, when you...
It was recently.
Like March?
Yes, probably, yes.
I know
yes.
that in...
I don't know the exact date, but yes, it would have been.
In February, you were a registered Democrat.
Correct.
Yes. So it had nothing to do with this nomination?
No.
Okay. Committee, any other questions? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As someone who has had the pleasure of appearing before the Board of Tax Appeals, I feel like sometimes that the small town problems that we have with appraised values and that doesn't register with the Board of Tax Appeals. And can you give us a little bit of example how you would handle the difference between a Johnson County piece of property and a Gove County piece of property?
I think everyone is entitled to the same process, whether that's a residential taxpayer, whether that is Johnson County, whether it is Gove County. I would begin with just applying the same thought process to every case that is in front of me, looking at the facts, looking at the law, and applying the facts to the case, applying the law to the facts of the case. And to me, the law is the law. Whether you're in Gove County, whether you're in Johnson County, Sedgwick County, Shawnee County, the law should be applied equally, regardless of whether it's a major commercial property in a large metropolitan area or a very small property in a rural area. So I would strive to just treat everyone as equally as I can under the law.
And one other question, we had a suggestion from here that, or from this committee, that basically said that if you win your case as an individual at BOTA, then the county should pay the fee. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that is an interesting concept. I'm not familiar with that idea. I think that it would not be without precedent in the entire legal system. The idea that the winning party would have costs or something of that nature paid, but I think that that is something that's a decision that would need to be made in the governing statutes that control BOTA's procedures and policies rather than a decision that is made by the board members themselves. So if the legislature decides that that is an appropriate thing for BOTA to do, then I would certainly in my role be happy to enforce that legislation, but I don't see it as a role of the BOTA members to make that decision on their own.
It'd have to be a legislative decision, but.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, any other questions? Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here today. Your experience with Robinson Law Firm, was that primarily with regard to property?
I would say property was about 75% of my work there. I also did general litigation there. I had some individual clients that I represented in more what I would characterize as consumer protection matters. I had some business clients where we did both business advising and things like setting up LLCs, drafting, base documents, contracts, leases, that kind of thing, and just other bits and bobs, but primarily real estate practice there.
If I might follow up, Madam Chair. So when you were doing that 75% of your work, did you represent anyone that went before BOTA?
No, I have never appeared before BOTA or had a client myself that has appeared before BOTA.
That includes you've never observed.
I have observed one hearing before BOTA.
Recently?
That was recently when I was interested in this nomination. I wanted to observe the hearing process and learn about the board before I came before all of you and before I committed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Committee, any other questions? Well, Kristen, thank you very much, and thank you for your family being here, and for Judge Martin. I was going to call you today, so this is going to save me a phone call. 6 volumes that you came, so that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Kristen, we're going to work this tomorrow and hold it over for the night, so thank you. I told you there may be a chance, but I found out we're meeting tomorrow too, so we will work your nominee tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you. Committee, we'll go to the next item on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We're going to work some bills, committee. And I'm going to open with Senate Bill 87. Committee, Amelia, are you online?
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning. Would you mind giving us an overview of Senate Bill 87?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 87 relates to countywide retailer sales tax. The bill would amend KSA 12-192 to provide that on and after July 1st of 2021, the apportionment of countywide retailer sales tax between the city and each county located in the county, or between the county and each city located in the county, as described in subsection A, would be discontinued for any revenue received pursuant to a countywide retailer sales tax imposed for general purposes that was approved by a majority of the voters in the election. All the revenue would be remitted to the county, and the bill would provide that this new provision would not prevent a Board of County Commissioners from entering into interlocal agreements to share revenue with any city located in the county as otherwise allowed by law.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions? Seeing none. Committee, based on the discussion that we had during the hearing and a little bit after, I thought I would have Amelia draw up a balloon amendment. Amelia, would you describe this amendment, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. I wasn't watching. Did you hand out the balloon?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. All right. The first thing the balloon would do is if you look at page 4, if you turn to page 4, it would strike the proposed language of subsection I, and in its place, it would include a provision that would apply to elections held on and after July 1st of 2021. It would provide that in lieu of that subsection A apportionment formula, all monies received by the Director of Taxation from a countywide retailer sales tax imposed pursuant to an election held on or after July 1st of this year shall be remitted to and retained by the county and expended only for the purposes for which it was pledged if the Board of County Commissioners decides at least 60 days prior to such election by resolution that the apportionment formula shall not be applicable to the proposed sales tax. Essentially, the county would decide in advance of the election whether or not the apportionment formula would apply. Also, all ballot propositions shall include a statement explaining whether or not the apportionment formula of subsection A would apply to the proposed countywide retailer sales tax. That's one of the provisions in the balloon. The second provision in the balloon is actually found on the last page of the attachment. The attachment is inserting another current statute, KSA 12-187, and adding an additional provision, which you can find on the last page of the attachment. This provision applies specifically to Atchison County, and it provides that the countywide retailer sales tax levied by Atchison County pursuant to their August 3rd, 1993 election, that levy shall terminate not later than June 30 of 2023.
Amelia, does this have the 60-day notice in it? I didn't see it.
Madam Chair, if you look at page 4 in the actual balloon language, it's about halfway through. It would require that the Board of County Commissioners make that decision on those new elections at least 60 days prior to such election.
Wonderful.
I think in line 6 there.
Yeah, I see it now. Committee, so what this would do in layman's terms is it would not impact any relationship or any sales tax that is currently in place. And so therefore it would not impact any agreement in place. But what it would do is, as a sales tax is sunset or expires, it would force the county commissioners to decide which option in statute they want, whether they want the entire amount to go to the county or whether they want to continue the existing formula that's in statute. And they would just have to make it known before, 60 days before the election, so that it's on the ballot, whichever way that it is. And just so that you know, committee, there is in current statute, the county commission can sunset a sales tax that is in existence. So if they would decide to, they could do that. I don't foresee that, but it is an option that I want you to be aware of. Senator Clays.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question for you, not the research staff. Is this the agreement between the parties regarding SB 87, or is this the hammer?
This is the agreement.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, we did not want to pull out a hammer. Both sides have looked at this. Obviously, there's some municipalities that may not be 100% in agreement, but Wichita and others that were negotiating with us, I think they reached out to Senator Kirshen. If you wanted to, did you speak to your individuals in your area that were?
Yeah, I heard it as recent as yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
They were okay with the language, but they were not jumping up and down to have to go through to appease one county for what's happened here.
Yeah, it sounds like it's appeasing one county, but if I may, Senator, what it's doing is making our voters aware. Because I guarantee, in fact, if you would ask a majority of voters, county, if they voted on a countywide sales tax, they assume that tax is going to the county, not to the municipality. So I think it's an oversight. I know it's been in statutes. It's a major change. Senator, we are going to work it in this bill and let it go through the process so that the House can take a close look also. Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing this amendment. The question that I have is the opposite true? If a city issues a sales tax, does a portion of that sales tax go to the county?
Thank you, Senator. It does not. And the county is up to 1 cent before they can, the city municipalities have actually up to 3 cents that they can increase. Amelia, would you want to address that?
Madam Chair, I was finding my copies of the statute. Yes, the apportionment applies to a countywide retailer sales tax. It doesn't apply to the city. And there are, I would have to find it. I don't have it right in front of me. The countywide retailer sales tax can go up to 1% and be fixed in increments of 0.25%. By an election before, then they would have to come to the legislature to exceed their 1%.
Any other questions? Seeing none, what are your wishes, committee? Senator Alley?
Madam Chair, make a motion that we pass out the amendment as presented.
That we pass the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Alley, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. What are your wishes on the bill? Senator Alley.
Madam Chair, make a motion that we pass out Senate Bill 87 as amended favorably.
Thank you, Senator. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. It's been moved by Senator Alley, seconded by Senator Tyson. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Would you like to be recorded? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you, committee. Let's turn our attention now to Senate Bill. Actually, committee, I'm going to wait on that Senate bill. Senator Stephan has an amendment on it. Or actually, I want to kick off discussion. Would you, Amelia, will you give us an overview on Senate Bill 149?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 149 would provide that the owner of a building with a business on the premises would be entitled to submit an application to the county for reimbursement of property taxes for the period of time that the business was shut down or limited in capacity as ordered by county government. The reimbursement would be paid out of the county general fund, and the provisions of the bill would apply for tax year 2020 and thereafter.
Committee, any questions for Amelia? You have another balloon amendment, committee. I'm going to go ahead and hand that out. And I would like to kick off discussion on this. I know we didn't, there's some language. Well, Amelia, I'll have you describe the balloon amendment if you would.
Madam Chair, can you tell me
It's,
the balloon that's being handed out?
yes, I would be glad to. The balloon that's being handed out is it's the one-page balloon that amends section A, B, C. Senator Stephan and myself had talked to you about it this weekend.
Up in the upper right-hand corner, does it have the date of March 29, 2021, or does it say March 2021?
No, it says March 29, 2021.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, I can explain the proposal of this particular balloon. You'll see out to the side there on the right-hand side in the first couple balloons, one of the major changes here is that this particular bill the current contents of the bill applies in a situation where the business on the property was shut down or limited in capacity by the county government. This proposal, this balloon would expand that to not only county government, but if the shutdown or limitation in capacity was by the state, county, city, or other political subdivision of the state. It would also, if it were the state, city, or other political subdivision that shut down or limited the capacity of the business, those entities would then reimburse the county for the amount that the county reimbursed that property owner. Then, in addition, if you look at the proposed subsection B, this is a new provision that would apply. Well, it actually it actually affects who gets the reimbursement if the property is shut down or limited in capacity. If the owner is the operator of the business that was shut down or limited in capacity, then that owner would be entitled to 100% of the reimbursement amount. If the owner is not the operator of the business, then the owner is to disclose that information on the application form. The owner would be entitled to 50% of the reimbursement amount, and the operator would be entitled to the other 50% of the reimbursement amount if the operator joins in the owner's application. That the operator would also have the opportunity that they may elect to assign their share of the reimbursement to the owner to be credited against any delinquent rent due to the owner. And, and the other, if you look at the very bottom, the provisions of this new section, this entire program, this program would be applicable on and after April 1st of 2021.
Any questions? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, if you go to a fast food restaurant today, usually you don't, or in most cases, they do not have seating for patrons inside. Would that be classified as limiting the capacity?
Amelia?
There is no definition of limited in capacity within the draft as it currently sits.
Senator, after we deal with this amendment, then we can entertain another conceptual amendment. Thank you. Senator Corson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just had a question, and Amelia, I don't know if this is something you're able or comfortable talking about, but can you talk about how this 149 sort of intersects with what was heard in this committee, which was 286? I mean, this is just a property tax specific bill, and then the other bill is a reimbursement more for sales and revenues and profits. I mean, are you able to talk about that, how the interplay between those two bills?
Amelia, I will, if you want to answer that, that's fine, but I would let the senator know 286 is no longer in this committee.
Right, right. So we heard that on Friday in Judiciary, but I just kind of, this is a property tax specific bill, and the other bill that we heard, I think, is related to other revenues. Is that, or Madam Chair?
That would be correct. Yes. Amelia?
As I recall, Senate Bill 286, there were, I don't have it in front of me, there were the major provisions in Senate Bill 286 had to do with those claims that were being made and setting up, related to businesses and business impacts as a result of government action during the pandemic, and creating a fund for the Attorney General to attempt to settle some of those claims or all of those claims. And there was one component, I believe, in one of the sections that had a provision that was similar to this, possibly, and then also possibly an income tax credit provision. But they were later on in the bill kind of as alternatives to that other funding mechanism.
Senator Corson.
And then this bill doesn't specify, so is it correct to say that then it is sort of up to the discretion of the state, city, or county in compliance with any restrictions issued by the federal government as to whether a city, county, or state could use federal funds to make these payments? There's not a specific fund set up to make these payments. So is it just if they're complying with federal guidance on that issue, they can use those federal funds to the extent they have them and they want to, or they could just use their general funds?
Senator Corson, that's a great question that we will dispose of after we dispose of this amendment. I want to have that discussion with the committee completely, so we did not draw up anything in writing. We want the committee to talk about that and decide where we land.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, committee, what are your wishes on the amendment? Senator Holland.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I do appreciate the makers of the amendment bringing this forward. I think it really starts to move us towards a positive direction. I'd like to see additional adjustments made, but to start the discussion rolling, I'd like to adopt the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. It's been moved by Senator Holland, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're back on Senate Bill 149 as amended, and we do want to continue the discussion. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the committees, not that it really matters, I guess. I introduced some legislation, SB 202. It was had some. It was bipartisan support. SB 202. There's a section 2 in there specifically. I guess I'm one of those guys that I see one tool and I try to apply it to everything in the world, whether it applies or not. But the SB 202 section 2 will look amazingly like the other circuit breaker mechanisms we have that we have adopted for the K-40 as it pertains to property taxes. And if you bring up that section, if you just care to look at it, when we're having a discussion generally about this policy, that would be a mechanism that we might want to consider as it's something that's already set up. And so what I mean by that, just once again briefly, a circuit breaker is where when that business, that individual is filling out their K-40 or their corporate return, they can basically submit a application to the state. In this case, basically, you'd be submitting an application basically attesting to the fact that your business was shut down or limited for some duration of time by either the state and or the county in which you operate. So that is a mechanism already in place where the business could apply, the state could basically disperse funds back out. Some comments about this, Madam Chair, is that I really do believe, well, a couple things I want to make. I very much support this legislation, but I want to be very clear that I'm not looking at it as a, this is something the state or the counties did bad, and so this is an apology or an amends. That's not where I'm going with this at all. I do think these businesses need relief, and I think it's a recognition by the state and the local governments that they attain some sort of relief, but I view this in no way as the state or county admitting to they did something wrong when they issued these either shutdown or orders or limiting capacity orders. The other point I want to make with this, Madam Chair, is that I really want to do something retroactive. Right now, if you look at the language on this, it talks about starting after April 1st, 2021. If you recall, we passed out the golden years the other day. That basically is effective for tax year 2020. So when you have, your good folks filling out their income tax returns now, they're going to be able to apply for a golden years rebate. I think we need to provide that same type of relief to our businesses that have been struggling by these capacity issues.
Thank you, Senator. That is exactly where I wanted you to go.
Okay.
What I am doing, committee, is kicking off the discussion so that we can pick this up tomorrow. I did ask Michael to go get copies of Senate Bill 202, so you'll know specifically what Senator Holland is talking about. There are a couple of good items in there that we may want to pick up and put in Senate Bill 149, and there is a cap on it so that it's not a, we're not going to fix everything for every business or homeowner, but at least we can take a look at it and see where we're at, committee. So if Senator Cluse, or Corson, I mean.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sure. I just, I support that concept. It's just, I'm a little cautious because of, understandably, we don't know what the impact would be on different counties. And I think I'm struggling with kind of where to.
That for you tomorrow.
Oh, we'll have that? Okay.
We're going to try to get as much information. I wanted to kick it off so we'd know where the questions are,
Okay.
what kind of data we need in order to work this bill.
Always one step ahead, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, committee. So I'm going to, yes, Senator Holland.
Just a brief question, Madam Chair. When you say information tomorrow, do we understand the breadth of the restaurants, the gyms, the whoever all else out there.
No, we're going to get some data and see what we can find out.
My only point, Madam Chair, is that kind of alluded to what Senator Corson was talking about. I'm sure others have the same concern. My hope is that maybe we could get something across the floor before we break, and then basically have the break itself to really fine tune the fiscal note on this before we.
Thank you, Senator Alley.
Madam Chair, since we passed the First Amendment, I'd like to go back to the definition of limited capacity. Driving up here yesterday, you stop at one restaurant on the Turnpike, and it is open, have seating. The other restaurant on the Turnpike does not have seating. They're both serving at limited capacity. But is it a choice that they are making, not a choice that the state is made?
Or the county or local?
The county or local?
Yes. Would you like to bring an amendment for tomorrow, Senator?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Senator Holland.
I just want to be sure I understand what the good senators are. So when you make that distinction, what are we trying to compensate here?
That's my.
Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's my question. So I believe that a certain restaurant decides not to close their dining room, but they spread it out 6 feet. They can have people come in. Another one seems to think that, hey, and it's a chain that's doing it, that we're not going to have any seating. We're making as much money as we were without the seating. So that's just an observation. That's not a knowledge that they do, right? But if we're going to compensate them, they could say, I'm being held back because of the ruling, the 6-foot separation. I'm being held back because of COVID, and they would be eligible for the property tax relief based on that, when I believe that's their decision, not the counties or the cities.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I can.
Senator Holland.
Yeah, my thought on the legislation would be specifically for those businesses that were materially impacted by those orders, okay? Not what a business voluntarily did or did not do when they weren't under the order. That's the type of relief I'm looking to provide for those businesses that came under an order specifically.
Thank you, guys. Senator Close, I'm going to suspend the discussion on this. Go ahead, Senator Close. Yeah, no, that's fine. Please go.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand out another balloon.
How do we find that out? I mean,
Eddie, would you be able to help with that information?
I can take a look and make some inquiries. I don't know exactly what detailed information we'll be able to track down by tomorrow as far as businesses shut down by virtue of governmental orders, either state or local, versus businesses that made decisions themselves. But
yeah, I think, Eddie, what we're going to have to do is get the number of businesses in the state and then do an estimated extrapolation on those businesses county by county. Senator Holland.
Thank you, and I'll be pithy here. It seems to me that basically we would have a record of any state-issued orders, any county-issued orders, and then we could basically map that back to the counties in those specific areas.
I understand, but I don't know that it is doable by tomorrow for the data. That's, yes. No, logistically, it's just the time frame we're under. Committee, tomorrow's our last day that we're able to meet. It's my understanding. So I'm going to turn your attention now, and we will pick up this discussion first thing tomorrow morning on Senate Bill 149. But I'm going to turn your attention, committee, to Senate Bill 233. I just handed out an amendment. Amelia, would you give us an overview of the bill?
Madam Chair, Senate Bill number 233 relates to sales tax and the filing of returns and payments by retailers. The bill would amend 793607 to increase the thresholds for the time to file returns and payments applying to the annual, quarterly, or monthly returns. And the bill would take effect starting January 1st of 2022.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, the amendment that was handed out, Amelia, do you want to explain it also?
Does this balloon up in the corner also read March 29, 2021? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, if you turn to page 2 of the balloon, it strikes language beginning in part of line 16 through part of line 30. Those are the provisions relating to the prepayment of the first 15 days of the month for certain retailers. So this provision, the purpose of this balloon is to discontinue the provisions that require prepayment of the sales tax.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions on the bill or on the amendment? Seeing none, committee, what are your wishes on? Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to clarify, we are required to make it a January 1 date, aren't we?
On the advance payment, I think so. Amelia, would that be correct?
And
I only say,
It makes sense to start it at the year because they're already making those estimated payments.
I only say that because we heard from testimony last summer from so many asking for
Relief.
and address. So it's unfortunate that here we are. And
No, that's a good question, Senator. Amelia, could you answer that?
Madam Chair, Eddie might be able to help me as well here, but my understanding is that when we deal with this particular statute and making changes with the forms and the reporting requirements, that the department has asked that it be January 1st, that those changes take effect. Eddie, do you have any more information about that?
That's my understanding as well. And I don't know specifically that there's a legal requirement that it has to be, but I think that the issue is having it take effect practically prior to legally is a challenge because of the issue of they've already prepaid, so to speak. And so I think it just has to be some term beyond when it actually is in force in terms of legally that the practical effect has to take place. I do think 6 months is what the department has indicated in the past is kind of doable.
Thank you, Eddie. I thought there was some, that they like to give 6 months notice to, whether that's a mandate or an option. Yes.
There are certain notice requirements associated with the streamlined sales tax agreement that might be what is in play with that, because we have to provide those notices a certain amount of time in advance of them taking effect for purposes of that agreement.
And just for the committee's information, we're going to be doing a deep dive on the streamline. It seems to hamstring us more than help us in certain cases. So committee, what are your wishes? I'll make the amendment if, I'll move the amendment. It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Discussion on the amendment? Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And where this is a request for Eddie, it needs to go to KDOR. Specifically, I'd like to know KDOR's analysis on the collections if we adopt the amendment, specifically striking the lines 16 through 30 on page 2. If I could just get that from KDOR now sometime. Thank you.
That was in the fiscal note. Eddie, do you mind addressing that?
I believe the fiscal note was for the bill as introduced. I don't know that there's an estimate within the fiscal note for the amendment.
Yeah, this would be
we would need to get.
Eddie, this would be an old fiscal note from a couple years ago. If I remember correctly, it was around 60, 65 million, and it's a one-time shot. It may be more now. But we will ask that from the Department of Revenue. Thank you. Senator Holland.
Just clarification, I'm specifically concerned if they have any thoughts on how this may potentially be adverse to their collections practices just going forward. Thank you.
Committee, any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, committee. Committee, Amelia, will you give an overview? I know we're running out of time, but we're going to work some magic here again. Would you give an overview of House Bill 2143? Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill number 2143 relates to retailer sales tax and would remove the sunset of the exclusion of certain cash rebates by motor vehicle manufacturers from the sales or selling price. If you recall last week, you began addressing this particular bill, and there was a motion to amend extending the sunset by 3 years instead of removing the sunset. And I believe, according to I believe that motion passed.
It did. Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions on the bill? Do you mind? Senator Alley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to insert into the bill that we put the cerebral palsy and the McPherson-Grange group into this bill, as add them in and define them in a bill.
Thank you. And committee, that was handed out as a balloon amendment a couple days ago. It was an amendment to 2104. Senator Baumgardner. Oh, thank you. It's been moved by Senator Alley, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, I'm going to dump Senate Bill 233. I know we still have some questions on it, but I'm going to make a motion to put the contents of Senate Bill 233 in House Bill 2143 also. It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Clays. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, we're going to wait to continue working that bill till tomorrow. That way Senator Holland can get his questions answered. Is there any other discussion to be brought before the committee today? Committee, tomorrow, my intention is to continue work on Senate Bill 149. So any questions that you have, could you please get them to Eddie and/or Revenue? Also, we'll continue working Senate Bill 2143. And committee, we will pick up language on 2313. That's the National Guard 2 vehicles. I know we have a few questions on that too, but we do plan to work that legislation. Any other business to be brought before the committee? Senator Baumgardner.
So, Madam Chair, when are we meeting tomorrow?
9:30.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for your work, committee, today. We're adjourned.